Thanks for joining us today. This is the third in a series of videos that we're doing on putting together the mini nest kitchen. The first video was assembling the cabinet, and then we did one on finishing options. This video we're going to go over and putting all the parts together and finishing off our kitchen. We're going to start off by putting on the doors, then the shelf. We'll assemble the top, put together the table. We have some additional hardware, and then finally we'll install the jugs and the faucet in the stove and have everything ready to install. Okay, let's get started. Now, when putting on the doors, the barrel of the hinge will stick proud of the cabinet face. So for that reason, I like to lift up the cabinet and the door. And the padding that your kit came in works really well for this. As you can see, this allows the hinges to sit flat against the cabinet, the inside of the cabinet, so it makes it easy to put the screws in. So here, 2 screws for each hinge that attach to the door. And then there's 1 screw that goes diagonally through the hinge into the cabinet frame. That will just hold it for now. Don't make that too tight. It tends to distort the frame a little, or distort the hinge a little bit. Here we're putting in the catches and door stops. Pretty straightforward. Putting 2 screws in each. Now with the door open, we're going to add 2 more screws to the hinges. Don't try to over tighten these too much. It's pretty easy to strip these screws. Just snug is fine. Okay. Here we're putting in the door latch. Remove the screws. This hole is a close tolerance, so when you try to put the latch in there, if you lift up on the little pull, that frees up the latch and allows it to slide right in the hole easily. Now just replace the 2 screws. Okay, and do the same thing on the other door. Now, this is the shelf. You can place the shelf any height you like. I generally like about 9 inches. I feel like it's a good compromise. Here, I just set the tape measure at 9 inches high, and I'm just holding the little angle brackets right at 9 inches and screwing them in. If you want, you can go around with the pencil and just mark that height, however you want to do it. I do find that if the shelf is too much higher than 9 inches, when you go to try to put the shelf in on top of these brackets, sometimes it hits the hinges or the door latches. As you see here, it clears everything fine. But again, if the shelf was too much higher, you would have to remove 2 of the brackets, put the shelf in, and then put the brackets back in place. So. Here we're attaching the same brackets. These will secure the top to the cabinet. Now, if you look closely, the brackets are just a hair lower than the top of the cabinet. You want that so that when you screw the top on, it pulls it tight to the top of the cabinet. If they're sticking above or proud, then the cabinet top won't sit flat. It's not the end of the world, it just doesn't look as good. So. Another thing to think about is when you put these brackets on where the table is going to go, have them be at least 1 inch from the end so that the table doesn't hit. Okay, so here we're putting on the top. I always like to put the top on it first to make sure it's oriented correctly. I lay the top flat and then roll the cabinet over on top of the top. Here I just eyeball it so it has the same reveal all the way around. And then just go around and put the 4 screws in to hold it in place. Here's how I was talking about the bracket. If the bracket was too high, the cabinet would not sit flush against the top. Okay, with the top all secured. Now we're going to put on the table support. A clamp really comes in handy to hold it in place. I generally put these about 22 inches high. I find that that's just a good height in most vans. If you want it higher, you only have several inches to play with there. But I just use the clamp to hold it in place on one end. The other end, I put it in a screw to tack it. And then I'll come back and make sure that both ends are the same height so that it's parallel. And now that everything, if it needs a little adjustment, loosen the clamp and just move it a little bit. And if everything looks good, then just go and put in all the screws. Um, I'm going to speed this portion up a little bit just because there's a lot of screws to put in. And you'll just repeat the same procedure on the other side. It's the exact same bracket, same process. Here's the table. First thing you'll need to attach is this metal strip. This is what hangs the table off that aluminum strip that you just screwed on. Now there's a top and bottom to this bracket. The top is sort of a half round and the bottom is 90 degrees. So make sure you put the curved half round on the top where the laminate is. If you put it on upside down, then your table will be upside down. So it'll be pretty self-evident pretty quickly. So again, I sped this up just because there's a lot of screws to put in here. When attaching the leg, I usually put it about 2 inches from the end and then center it up side to side. And then with that centered, I put one screw in just to hold it. And then I go down to the bottom and measure just to make sure it's centered up on the table there. And then you can put in the rest of the screws. And again, I sped this up. Okay, here we are adding just the little turn buttons to hold the table in place. I put them about halfway up. It's not critical. And it's sort of a friction fit. You want them tight enough that they're not going to spin on their own, but not so tight that they're hard to turn. So it just might take a little, adjusting looser or tighter just to get them right. Okay, so there's one for each side. And then test them to make sure they're not too hard. Okay, so now we're going to glue the sink in. This is a clear 100% silicone caulking, sealant, adhesive, whatever you want to call it. You don't need too big of a bead, but just put on a bead all the way around. You'll know if you put enough on. After you run a bead all the way around, you set it into place, and if you lift it up, you'll see adhesive all the way around the edge of that opening. If you don't, you can add a little more. If you put in, well, I guess you'll know you have enough if you start to have squeeze out like I did there. So just wipe out the excess. Okay. This black ring is what holds the faucet in place, and that just snaps into position. That silicone will need to dry overnight. Next, we'll be attaching the strap that holds the water jugs. I generally put these about 7 inches high. It's not critical, it's just somewhere in the middle of the jugs. All right, so this is your freshwater jug. It has a hose going down the inside for a water pickup. And then on the top, it gets attached to this 1/4-inch hose to one end of the jug. The other end will be attached to the faucet. Now the faucet is a rechargeable electric faucet. On a single charge, it'll pump about 20 gallons, and it gets charged through a USB outlet inside your van, and it just plugs into the back there. You can see the hose just connects to the barb on the bottom of the faucet, and then it just slips over that black ring. All right, this is the gray water. This is just the water that goes down the drain. I usually, when I'm done camping, I just dump that out before I hit the road. It's never going to get that full. Okay. And lastly, the stove goes into position. Okay, and then the last thing is putting the adjustable feet on. Here they just get hammered in. Now, the floor on all vans, some are flatter than others. Depending on the make and model of your van, the adjustable feet that you receive with your kit may change just to accommodate the van that you have. But here, see, we're just hammering in the anchors, and then you just screw on the adjustable feet. When you install the van, you want these feet to be touching all the way around just to make it a little more stable. Well, congratulations, you finished your kitchen. You have everything that you need to go camping. You have your fresh and gray water jugs piped up to the sink and the faucet. You have plenty of storage inside for all your food and your camping gear. You have the rails inside and out for your table. Your table is just clipped on to the end here. And behind that, you have your stove safely stowed away. All right? I know there's a lot of screws and a lot of parts, but not too complicated. Our next video will show you how to get this installed in your van. All right, cool. Thanks for watching.